Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another edition of the Middle Georgia Spotlight. I'm your host, Jack Ellis. We're glad to have you with us this week. First of all, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Caduceus Medicine and J. Franklin Automotives. And let me hasten to say right here that the views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of Mercer University or WMUB Channel 38. The views expressed here are strictly mine and or the guests that I have on the show. In the spotlight this week is no stranger to the people of Macon and Middle Georgia is Cliffard Whitby. Joining him is his wife, Dr. Shantel Whitby. I'd like to welcome both of you to our program.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you. It's an honor.
Yes.
It's an honor.
First of all, my first question would be, how are you all doing? How are you doing?
We're
And
doing.
I mean that in a very sincere, how you doing?
We're doing great.
Doing great.
Yes.
Our
Good. You
family
look
is
good.
strong,
Thank you.
Both of you.
and we are very pleased to be here with you today.
Well, great. And I have to ask you another. I would be remiss, Dr. Whitby, if I didn't ask you how are the people back home doing, because we are aware that you are from the Bahamas, and we know the devastation that has taken place there. How is your family and people back home as far as of this time?
Yes. In the Bahamas, I think, everyone saw the devastating scenes, especially to the islands of the Abacos and Grand Bahama, which is the island where my parents live. Fortunately for them, they didn't get any flooding in their area, but there's a lot of rebuilding that needs to be done.
Have you been back since the storm? Have you been to the Bahamas since the storm?
I have not been
You have
back
not?
yet,
Okay.
but I'm hoping within the coming weeks that I will be able to get there.
Well, good. No serious injuries, any of your family, close friends, anything of that nature?
No, they're doing well.
Good news, because when I
Yes.
saw that devastation, I lived in the Caribbean for 8 years, and I've gone through several hurricanes, and I know how devastating they can be, not only when they happen, but the aftermath, the mental
Yes.
PTSD and things of that nature that people are going through. So it's going to be a long recovery, but we wish the people in the Bahamas well.
Thank
and
you.
hopefully that it will come back to be that Mecca that we all like to visit and call our vacation spot.
Yes, thanks.
Now that we got that out of the way. And that's very important. I just wanted to let people know that even though you're here in Macon, and I'm sure we all felt for the people in the Bahamas, and maybe except Trump, but the rest of us did. And I say that, don't expect for you to have a response to it, but based on what I heard him say, I say that and leave that there. But Mr. Whitby, Clifford, you
Yes,
have,
sir.
I guess you can say you've been to the mountain and you've been in the valley, and here you are still standing, if you will. I mean, I don't think it's a secret that people know what you've gone through and how you've been, when I say maligned, when I say that falsely accused, if you will, and you came, your family, and still standing strong. Where did you get this type of strength from? Where did you get this type of resolve and resolute to go through what you've gone through and still hold your head high and still serving the people of Macon and Bibb County?
Mary Ellis, let me just say, I was rooted by parents who believed in God, who raised us in the church, who taught us that there will be difficult times, but your character, how you deal with the crisis, is how you ultimately will be judged. I was fortunate to have a wonderful wife that was there every day as we went through the storm. And it's the irony of the storm Dorian that devastated my wife's hometown impacted us deeply as well. You mentioned the devastation, but I don't think people truly understand what it is to wake up and not have power, to wake up, not have sanitized water, not to be able to do your normal routine, going to the grocery store, getting fuel. If you want for your neighbor what you want for yourself, we should all feel that. And we should all recognize that we are our brother's keeper. And let's keep that in mind. But our family is strong. And I sincerely thank you for asking.
Of course, you all have children. You have twins, I know, twin daughters.
Yes,
are they?
yes.
And another child,
Right,
younger.
right.
How are they? How, you know, not only from hearing about back home and grandmother and grandfather and that and relatives, but because things affect children sometimes, as you know, as a physician, more so than it does us. But children are very resilient as well. They can bounce back. But they've gone through a lot too. They have witnessed everything that has happened. How are they doing?
Yes.
They okay?
Yeah, they are doing well.
Good.
We homeschool the girls, and so as far as the past 2 years and going through the trial, they knew that there was important things we were working on, but they weren't exposed to a lot of the media attention that came with that. So that was fortunate. But we have open dialogue with them, so they were aware of the storms. It was important for us also after we were able to get in contact with the family back in the Bahamas, for them to be able to talk to them and communicate with them. So they have been anxious really to get back there themselves.
I can imagine. Mr. Whitby, may I call you Clifford? Can I
Sure,
call you Clifford?
sure, absolutely.
Obviously, you have contributed a lot to this town. I guess you would call yourself a self-made man. In other words, nobody gave you anything on the silver platter. For what you have, you worked for it, you earned it, as they used to say, we got it the old-fashioned way, you earned it. But having your own success in your own business, how does that relate to having the success that you had as a chairman of the Industrial Authority, having a vision and making things happen by bringing jobs and so forth and so on? What was more gratifying for you, building your own company or doing the whole city or county thing so that everyone could taste some success that some of the success that you had tasted?
You know, Mary Ellis, I can't begin to answer that question without pointing out to your viewers. During your administration, you made the decision to find somebody that you felt had and understood business, development. And I remember receiving a call from you asking me to consider joining the Bibb County Industrial Authority. Many of your viewers may not know that the Bibb County Industrial Authority is the lead economic development arm of this community. And initially, I was reluctant, but after having a great deal of discussion with you, I felt that I could contribute to the community. But to answer your question, it was far more gratifying rebuilding the lead economic development arm until the engine that it is today. We did great work there, as you know, and I'm very proud of what we've done and the opportunities we have provided for our citizens right here in Macon Bibb. So I just want to say to you, there's no question about it. I do believe in personal achievements. We must desire to better ourselves, but it's far greater when you can contribute to so many as we did when I served on the Industrial Authority.
Well, obviously you have a strong helpmate here. We know more about you. Obviously, you're born and raised in this town. You know, just done so many great things, and we're aware of that. But Doctor, we know you because of your husband. You new to our town, but you're most welcome, and you're a Maconite now. But tell us a little bit about you. You're a medical doctor by training.
Yes.
And are you in private practice now here in the city?
Well,
or in the area?
To start, I actually did my undergrad at Mercer.
Okay.
which brought me to the area
Okay.
back in the mid to late 90s. And so after that, I went on to, I actually was home working to save up money for medical school after that time period for a couple of years, and then went to Morehouse School of Medicine and did my training at Emory University for rehabilitation medicine. So when I came back to the Macon area, I was a staff physician and medical director at then Central Georgia Rehabilitation, which is now the Navicent Rehabilitation on Northside Drive. And so I was there for about 6 years and went into private practice for a couple of years following that. And so leading up to the trial, I had closed down the practice and have since gone on to do some contracted work helping veterans.
Yeah. Now, I guess in addition to that, I understand you serve on an authority as well. Are you on the board?
Yes,
at
the Hospital Authority Board.
the hospital authority. So you will be considered two power couples, I guess. Here, your husband is the chairman of the Industrial Authority, which is the premier, as he said, the premier economic development arm in the entire, matter I said, not just for Macon and Bibb County, but the entire region, because people get those jobs not just from Macon and Bibb County, they're from the entire region. And you on the Hospital Authority, which is the, if not the #1 employer in terms of numbers, in terms of payroll, one of the largest payrolls. So what was you know, when you go home at night, I guess husband and wife talk about what husband and wife talk about, but did you all talk about a lot of the things that goes on to make the city work? Because you hear you on the board of this powerhouse and he's on this board, did you all compare notes, or was that a time you went home and just to be with one another in your family and left that outside?
I think for the most part, we kind of left that outside. So I think we both had a lot going on, but we both wanted the same thing, which was improvement for the city and the county. So, you know, there's some discussion, but of course, you know, certain things that are confidential, and so, you know, those things we didn't really get into.
Because I could ask a lot of questions about the medical center, but I'm not, because people have asked me to get involved in discriminatory practice, but that's not what this show is about, so I'm not going there with you. But Clifford, what I would like to say to you, we know that we hear a lot about criminal justice reform. And when we think of criminal justice reform, all too often we think about the kid that the police shot on the corner, or he did something wrong and he got caught up in the criminal justice system. But based on what from looking on the outside looking in, how you were falsely accused, and we would call that a white collar situation, they call it. Is there as much need for criminal justice reform at that level as it is the street level, in your opinion, having gone through what you've gone through?
Absolutely. Mayor Ellis, it is difficult to really pinpoint the root cause of why the American people allow some of the injustices. And it is truly the American people, because the Justice Department and our courts really supposed to represent us. But as we know, it can run amok, and it do quite often. These people have tremendous power that's granted to them by us. And as we can just read every day, the abuse runs rampant. But that's our responsibility to change. It's our responsibility. The Justice Department represent us. The courts represent us. But oftentimes, politics has a way of influencing justice. You need to look at just the disparity in sentencing, the guidelines. I think It's been reported the female that was pled guilty to bribery received something like 14 days. In our very own city, we see a drastically different approach.
How do we change that? I mean, you're a leader and you're a thought leader. Where does that, do we change that starting with the government? Do we change it by who we elect as judges and DAs or who we appoint? Or is it something, you said that it can be changed, so you're saying it's a bottom-up thing that we as a community, the grassroots, if we wanted to change, we have to change the people. Is that what, I don't know what words, is that what you're saying? If we want to change the system, you have to change the people that's making the decision within the system?
Mr. Mayor. Election has consequences.
Tell me about it. The Supreme Court in the U.S. will tell you that.
Right here in Middle Georgia, election have consequences. And we have to truly give a great deal of thought. Politics dictates so much in how justice is doled out. And we have to understand, these people represent us. They represent this community. In my particular case, it was a federal case. And I was judged by a jury of my peers from the entire Middle Georgia district. 9 whites and 3 blacks. But we had faith in the system that despite the politics, despite the distortions, we had confidence that in the end we would be vindicated, and we were.
And you had a lot of faith in God. I remember going to a prayer vigil and how the ministers in this town rallied around you and prayed. And my mother always said prayer changes things, and I believed it then and I believe now. But was that what you held, your faith, more than, I know you had each other to hold on to in your family, but your faith, was that the what you were grounded in most of all?
Oh yes, that was definitely the foundation. You know, because without that, I know one of the scriptures that I really held to was when Jesus was leaving his disciples and he said, "My peace I give to you, my peace I leave with you." And so when we would have times where we felt like we weren't at peace, we had to know that it wasn't because God had removed himself or that his word wasn't true anymore, is that we needed to come back to his word. And of course with that there was a lot of work that had to go in on the legal end.
Yeah.
On top of that, but that was the foundation to keep us at peace and to get through the process.
As they say, faith without works. So a lot of work had to take place as well. In case you're just joining us, we are talking with Clifford Whitby, former chairman of the Bibb County Industrial Authority, president and CEO of Whitby, Inc., and joining him is his wife, Dr. Shantel Whitby, who is a member of the Macon-Bibb County Hospital Authority, as well as a medical doctor here in our city. But let's get back to the good that you would, you know, Andy Young, one of my role models in person, I think a great deal of. He said no one should ever feel bad about doing well as long as they're doing good. In other words, people should not hang their head about making money. As long as they're doing good, as long as they're giving back. And basically, the core, what I understand, what this came, that you were trying to do good, and you've always tried to, for a community that you grew up in and that you love, but you are a businessman. It was a business thing, but you were doing good. So you feel that you were slapped, if you will, or knocked around for doing good, for wanting to do good, for a community that you grew up in and that you love. Tell us about this whole, not the whole thing, but the what you were trying to do and what the city needs to do if they didn't continue, what we need to do, the vision that you had to revitalize, revamp, lift people out of poverty and despair and restore hope or give them hope.
Mr. Mayor, that's one way of putting it. And that's one way of asking the question as well. It's not a secret that I had served this community representing the Bibb County Industrial Authority as we attempted to attract Kumho Tire or rebuild the relationship with Kumho Tire that we successfully done. Irving Tissue, major success of the Industrial Authority. Tractor Supply, First Quality Diaper Plant, and many, many others. It's negotiating for a greater good. There was absolutely nothing inappropriate in what we were seeking to do. In fact, the need is greater today than it was in 2012. But oftentimes, when those that are not in the majority that operate the same way are judged and viewed drastically different. I have every word that was spoken in the official transcript, and not a single place was I or anybody I was associated with charged or accused of taking a dime. Just think about that.
But the Promise neighborhood was a good, the name, I like the name, Promise. It gave promise and hope to the people. What's happening with that now? Is it, obviously the need is still there. We still need to have hope. Those people still, not those people, but the people in the community affected still need to have a promise made and a promise kept. Are you still willing as a private citizen now, a businessman, to still work to make sure that some of that come to fruition?
Absolutely. In 2012, I represented Mercer University as the executive director of the Promise Neighborhood Initiative. It, believe it or not, worked very well, as we had 40 some plus organizations and groups that was committed to this work. The promise that was made to those communities, two of our most struggling communities, Unionville area and the Tyndall Heights area, that we would be there, that we would do business differently. I served as the executive director for Mercer University, and I also worked with a nonprofit that my wife and I helped start called PICD. The acronyms for CGPICD, Central Georgia Partnership for Individual and Community Development. Because we recognize that if the individuals in the community don't continue to improve themselves, how do the community as a whole benefit? So this was an effort to assist individuals in the community to strive to achieve their lifelong dreams and being supported by the resources of this community. And if Unionville and Tyndall Heights didn't deserve that promise, who in this community does? So yes, we are still very committed. We still work throughout the communities. Look forward to further serving this community. The only statement I made publicly since the trial was on the courthouse steps, when I stated that my wife and I are still committed to this community. This is home for us. And we're going to do everything we can to continue to work for this community.
I'll tell you what I'm most proud of, that you never hung your head, that you never allowed the community, when you're not guilty, you just, you can just carry yourself in a certain way. You know you're not guilty, you carried yourself in that way, both of you. I saw you entering and exiting. There was never a time that I didn't see the confidence or the faith that you said that got you through this. But having said that, realizing that you have faith in God and evidently have unabiding faith in God, But you also had to have faith in the system. And as you said, the system sometimes runs amok. Sometimes innocent people get caught up in it. So was there ever a time because you're looking at your husband here, the father of your children, being accused and being on trial, and you got 12, your faith is in the hands of 12, as you said, people of your peers. Was there ever a time that you said, boy, I hope these 12 people that you thought maybe these 12 people would get it wrong? Was there ever any doubt in your mind, or your faith was so strong that you know that God would move on them as well?
Well, that certainly was my...
But you're human now, so
yes,
I'm talking about
yes,
human.
that certainly was the belief. And yeah, certainly there are times where you're hoping that the jurors are, being attentive, that they are getting the information and understanding the points that are being made about critical parts of the case. And the jury that we had, they were attentive to what was going on. I wouldn't say, that there was never a time where you may get a little frustrated or a little concerned, but then it came back to really grounding yourselves and also having confidence not only in God but also in our legal team as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even if you don't have faith in too much confidence in the system, because as you said, sometimes the system gets it wrong in terms of sending innocent people doing, and we know people have even come off of death row because they got it wrong. So I'm just glad they got it right here. We've talked about the situation. Let's talk about the future. Number one, I'm glad you all I'm glad you decided to stay in Macon, number one, because some people would say after being falsely accused, some people would say, I'm out of here, I don't want to. But I'm glad you decided not only to stay and fight the good fight, but to continue to fight the good fight. What's in your future in terms of the overall serving this community?
Mayor Ellis, we are in deep discussions with stakeholders in this community. We're attending a lot of meetings and we're really assessing how we can best impact this community. Having served as the mayor of this great city, how important it is to represent the total community. And we've got to figure out in Macon how we can put petty differences, partisan politics aside, and do the real work of help restoring Macon to its rightful place as the Middle Georgia hub of this community. I still believe that we can get there. I still believe we can provide opportunities, not just opportunity on the north side of town, but opportunity in Bellevue, opportunity in Pleasant Hill, opportunity in Fort Hill, and yes, Unionville, Tyndall Heights, north, south, east, west. We did it. We demonstrated that it can be done.
Well, we have about a minute left, and I'm going to give you the last, Dr. Whitby, I will give you the last 30 seconds, and I'll take 30 seconds to close it out. Is there anything you would like to say to the people of Macon and Bibb County, those who supported you, those who maybe wish you ill? Mm-hmm. What would you like to say to the community, if anything?
Yes, I am just extremely grateful to the outpouring of support that we got from so many in the community who recognized the work that Clifford had done previously, and also just the love and prayers for our family. I am grateful, of course, to the jurors as well, and the acquittal that we got. And really, my hope is just that, as Clifford said, we could all come together and really rebuild and continue to work to build the community going forward.
Well, thank you all so much. We've been talking with Clifford Whitby, former chairman of the Bibb County Industrial Authority, his wife, Dr. Shantel Whitby, who is on the hospital authority here in Bibb County. And I'm going to ask you all to like us on Facebook. We're not Facebook, YouTube. We're on YouTube. I want you to subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on YouTube, look at us on YouTube. Just go to the Middle Georgia Spotlight with C. Jack Ellis, and you look at all the shows we've had here on the Middle Georgia Spotlight. And I want to thank you all so much for joining us this week, and let me thank my guests again for giving me this opportunity. It's been an honor to speak to both of you, and I wish you nothing but Godspeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Until next week, I'm your host, Jack Ellis, right here, same time, the Middle Georgia Spotlight. Goodbye, everybody.